Hello everyone and welcome to another middle of the week. How you holding up? Has it been a good week this week as we make our way through January, which I have to admit is not my favorite month of the year, but I'm trying to enjoy it. The sunrises and sunsets have been beautiful here of late, so I'm doing my best with January, and it's not been too cold here for January, so I suppose we got to take it. Hope you're having a great week. Wanted to share a thought with you from the book of 2 Kings. Do you hang out much in 2 Kings? Kind of a hard book to read. There are a lot of human mistakes, and we see a lot of God's patience in this book. But in 2 Kings chapter 22, we read about Josiah, and it's such a breath of fresh air. There are so many kings that you read, and each the kings of Israel, the kings of Judah, and most times God says, and this guy was evil. This guy did evil in the sight of the Lord. He was like the evil of his fathers. But in chapter 22, you get to Josiah, and this is a breath of fresh air because it says Josiah, who was only 8 years old when he became king, he did what was right, and he followed the ways of David, his ancestor. And so it's such a breath of fresh air to read that as you're making your way through this book. But something I discovered that was really, really shocking. Here in Judah, God's people who've been established by God, given the promised land, the kings of David and Solomon made the country great, and then it split and all the different history. But they're God's people, right? And they've got the temple, and they've got prophets, and they've got priests. And in 2 Kings chapter 22, verse 8, it says the high priest was going through the house of the Lord. They were doing some repair work, and he says, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord, and then gave it to the scribe who took it to the king. I found the book of the Lord. I found the book of the covenant, which implies that it had been lost for all this time, that they'd had it. It wasn't like it was hidden. It was in the temple, but he found it in the sense that it wasn't being used. And then when it's taken to the king has it read to him, and he realizes, oh man, everything that God said we shouldn't do, we've done, we're in trouble. And the king tears his clothes and is saddened and asks the prophetess for help. And it's just amazing to think of here in Judah, here in God's people, here with the temple, they lost the book of the Lord. Have we lost God's book? Now, of course, there are tons of Bibles. You may have tons up on your shelves, but have we lost God's Word? Are we taking time to read it every day? As this new year begins, I would like to encourage you, if you haven't been able to get into your busy schedule time every day to spend with God, just even if it's just reading a little bit, a chapter a day, start with that. Because we don't want to be the type of people who say like, oh, wow, I found this. This is amazing. Finding it implies that you'd kind of lost it. You've kind of put it to the side and forgot about it. Let's rediscover God's Word and His love for us that we find in the story within. And I hope that's a great way that we can all start this new year right. Is finding God's Word, taking it inside, listening to what God has to say to us, and finding a God who just wants to be with us. Friends, I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope that you'll join us for worship this coming Saturday. We'll have Bible study time at 9:30 here at Piedmont Park, and then we'll have our worship service at 11, both online and in person. And I'm excited because we're going to be starting a new sermon series. This one's going to be on the book of Acts, and we're going to see God's power to transform in that amazing book. Hope you'll join us then. Take care, everyone, and let's take care of everyone.